He has been very seriously, sincerely, not only practicing, but is inspiring thousands and thousands of people all over the world in this great science. He is conducting seminars in many prestigious universities, MIT, Stanford, IIT, Lutz Pilani, and many others all over the world, different countries, US, Canada, India, and Caribbean. So there's a golden opportunity for all of us in Lansing to have association of Maharaj. So let's welcome Maharaj and prepare ourselves by chanting 3 times Hari Bol. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. And his children, they are, a little restless. Then we have a playroom next so that, the kids can also let us hear peacefully. All right. Thank you.
Sound like a bird. Does everybody know everybody? There's some people from different locations. Who lives locally? Okay. So you all know each other. My understanding is, I'm getting to know the audience. Please permit me to understand who I'm speaking to first. This is a new Bhakti Vriksha group, so there's some persons who are new to Krishna consciousness. Is that?
Yes, Maharaj.
Yes, Maharaj, okay. And almost everybody here, except for a few of us, are from India. So I was thinking to speak about the same topic I was asked to speak about in St. Louis, because I was just in St. Louis before coming here. So I was speaking about the teachings of Prahlad Maharaj. Do you know who is Prahlad Maharaj? Mataji? Yes? Okay, good. This gentleman with the cane back here, you know who is Prahlad Maharaj. You must know who is Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad. No problem. Okay. Prahlad Maharaj, no problem, right? Okay. That's your mom? Is that your mom? Is that relative?
Oh, yes.
That's your mom?
Yes.
Yeah.
Billiken's great. Welcome.
Oh.
You were on the cart
Yeah.
1 year.
Yeah, I sure was. Okay. And you were somewhere?
On the cart.
On the cart? Okay. Harmonic convergence, look at that. Gauramani was asking me, my schedule never worked, and then it wasn't planned, it just worked 1 year. So there we went. Jai Jagannath and Gauramani and a whole bunch of people. Bud Billiken Parade is a nationally televised parade in Chicago, and it's a nice event. So, Prahlad Maharaj. This isn't in relation to Nrsimha Chaturdasi. We like to speak about Prahlad on the occasion of Lord Nrsingadev's appearance, but this isn't that occasion. It's one of the most important sections of the entire Srimad Bhagavatam. It rates way up there in Lord Chaitanya's book, or his appreciation for Srimad Bhagavatam. It's described in Chaitanya Charitamrita, the biography of Lord Chaitanya's life, that when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was residing in Jagannath Puri, every day, early in the morning, he would go to see Lord Jagannath. And after seeing Lord Jagannath, the pujaris would give him some prasad of Lord Jagannath. And then he would take that prasad of Lord Jagannath and go visit Haridas Thakur to give him the prasad of Lord Jagannath. Because Haridas would not enter the temple feeling himself unfit, so Lord Chaitanya brought Jagannath to him in the form of his prasad. And he would spend time with Haridas, discussing Krishna Katha. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, nearly daily, would go to the Tota Gopinath temple and take darshan of the deity of Gopinath. And the Tota Gopinath, that adjective Tota, indicates there was like a forested area, and the mood in that forested area was like the mood of Vrindavan. In fact, very near to the Tota Gopinath temple is where Bhaktisiddhanta established his little bhajan kutir in Puri. In that mood, worshipping Krishna, Gopinath, in the mood of the residents of Vrindavan, although they were in Puri. So he took darshan of Tota Gopinath, and he then received association from Gadadhar Pandit in the form of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from Gadadhar Pandit. Imagine. Krishna, who's in the mood of Radharani, is hearing from Gadadhar Pandit, who is Radharani, the message of Srimad Bhagavatam before Tota Gopinath. Out of this world. Gadadhar Pandit was such a devotee that not only Mahaprabhu, there's a very famous painting, maybe some of you have seen it, that was commissioned by the king, Prataparudra, where Gadadhar Pandit is, the scene is by the side of Narendra Sarovar. That's a place in Puri. It's a place where they have many, many festivals. Deities would come regularly from the Jagannath temple to Narendra Sarovar in a big procession, and then have a big festival at that Sarovar. Put the deity on a boat, and the deity would go for a boat ride, and then big, kirtan and Brahmins chanting and offerings of this and that, and then back to the temple, and then do it again the next day, and then do it again the next day, and then do it again. So Narendra Sarovar is a very special place. It's connected to the Gundicha cleansing, Gundicha Marjana pastime, the cleansing of the Gundicha temple where Jagannath would go and stay for a week, and then go back to the temple. Narendra Sarovar is a very special place. So the painting was commissioned at Narendra Sarovar, where Gadadhar Pandit is giving Srimad Bhagavatam class, and in the painting over here is Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. Over here behind them is Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Over here are Rupa and Sanatan Goswami, and Jagatananda Pandit, and a number of other of the intimate Ramananda Roy and Sarup Damodar. It's like the assembly of the awesome associates of Mahaprabhu, all gathered around like bees around the flower of Gadadhar Pandit speaking Srimad Bhagavatam. And there's Haridas Thakur hanging up his cloth and the tree behind him. All these wonderful associates just engaged in the nectar of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from Gadadhar Pandit. Imagine hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from Radharani. And imagine your Krishna hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from Radharani. That's the mood. Although it's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu hearing from Gadadhar Pandit, Srimad Bhagavatam. So it describes in Chaitanya Charitamrita, he would go there daily and hear Srimad Bhagavatam from Gadadhar Pandit in front of Tota Gopinath. And Gadadhar Pandit would narrate, specifically as mentioned, these two sections of the Bhagavatam, the pastimes of Dhruva Maharaj and Prahlad Maharaj. And after hearing them, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would say it again, say it again. Not like I've ever heard that one. I want to hear another one. Say it again. But like diving deeply into the spirit of devotion of the Lord's pure devotee, Prahlad Maharaj, who's on the platform of perfection, expressing through his teachings what perfection is. What are the feelings of one who is in that position of perfection towards the object of love? Before Prahlad started, so it's a very important section. Say it again, say it again. 100 times. And then say it again 100 times. So, the topics of the Bhagavatam are compared to nectar. In fact, they're compared to the ripened fruit of the desired tree of the Vedas. So the Vedas are called, or compared to a desired tree, Kalpavriksha, desired tree, because they fulfill everything, material, spiritual. The Vedas provide everything, knowledge about everything. You want wealth, you want health, you name it. Go to the Vedas and it can tell you how to get it. It's like a desire tree. But the ripened fruit of that desire tree of the Vedas is Srimad Bhagavatam. That ripened fruit is love of God. Not just get wealth or get health, it's love of God. And the Srimad Bhagavatam gives it very liberally. Say it again, say it again. Very liberally, it gives love of God. Through sound vibration. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't have to achieve anything. Shukadeva Goswami didn't have to achieve anything. He was fully Brahman realized. He was completely, extremely detached from anything of this world. But he was very attracted to Srimad Bhagavatam, indicating the sound vibration of Srimad Bhagavatam is fully transcendental. It does not even give a hint at a fragrance of something material. Otherwise, Shukadeva would not have interest in it. Fully transcendental literature. When Srila Prabhupada was instructed by his spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta, to go to the West and, we all know the instruction, give the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, for by so doing, this will be of benefit to them and of benefit to you. So what did he do? He brought Srimad Bhagavatam. Why? Because Srimad Bhagavatam is the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Or the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam. Say it either way, you both get an A in your exam. It's the message of love of God, which nourishes the chanting of the holy name, which gives love of God, if chanted properly. So proper guidance of how to lead one's life and how to orient one's heart in life comes from Srimad Bhagavatam. So the awakening of a desire to be in service to Krishna, in relationship with Krishna, with exclusive devotion to Krishna is very nicely guided by the message of Srimad Bhagavatam and Prahlad Maharaja's prayers. There's instructions, there's a whole other chapter, previous chapter, where he's instructing his classmates. Basically, he's saying to his classmates, don't waste your time. Now, at the tender age of childhood, one should be engaged in this way, not later. Prahlad was a Vaikunthavasi, meaning he had an attraction for the Lord of Vaikuntha. The feature of that Lord of Vaikuntha that he had particular affinity for showed his form, half man, half lion, Nrsingadev. Those of you that are familiar with that very beautiful painting, the cover of first canto Bhagavatam, each of those little universes emanating from the body of Mahavishnu, each of them have a little different name. There's Rishikesh and Vamana and Sridhar, and depending upon what's in the hands of Lord Narayana, the four symbols of Vishnu, and depending upon them, it's by different names. So Lord Nrsingadev has his Vaikuntha abode. And if you read carefully Brihat Bhagavatamrita, you'll find Sanatana Goswami discloses something that's very interesting. The whole Brihat Bhagavatam is very, very, very interesting. But we're accustomed, those who read Prabhupada's books, are accustomed to understand that Lord Narayana has 4 arms, and the residents of Vaikuntha, they also have 4 arms. They have complexion like the Supreme Lord. There's markings on the body of Lord Narayana to distinguish him from the others, the Kaustubha gem and mark of Srivatsa specifically, indicating, the residence of the goddess of fortune. That's Narayana. And otherwise, he looks like the other ones, if you're not familiar with Vaikuntha. That's what happened to Gopal Kumar. He was very confused. Are you Narayana? Oh, no. But then as Gopal Kumar was at the gates of Vaikuntha, he saw all these different persons that didn't have 4 arms and blue in complexion and yellow dhoti looking like Lord Narayana. He saw all these other persons coming and going. And to make a long description short, Sanatana Goswami explains, according to the mood of the worshipper, they may adopt a form according to the mood of that position they were in when they were worshippers. And the form that the Lord exhibits corresponds with the mood of their love for Him. So multiple persons may be seeing the same form of the Lord, they see a different form because He is revealing to them according to their love for Him. Like that verse from Brahma Samhita, Premanjana Charita, Bhakti Vilochanena Santaksa Daiva Hridayesha Vyolkiyam Yam Shama Sundaram Achinju Ganasarupam. So he's speaking of the Lord of the heart, but he's speaking of Him as Shama Sundar. Note, Shama Sundar has 2 arms. And Paramatma has 4. But the devotee that has that kind of love sees the form of Shama Sundar. Just like Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he saw Lord Jagannath, He saw Krishna holding his flute. That's not what we see when we see Lord Jagannath. But that's what he saw. Why? Because the Lord was revealing that form of him according to the love of Lord Chaitanya. You with me? Prahlad's a Vaikunthavasi. Yet he knows when he spoke to his father, Hiranyakashipu was his father, and Hiranyakashipu wanted to know from Prahlad, what's the best thing that you've learned in school? Something that, parents will ask their son or daughter. What's the best thing that you learned in school? And one of the times that Prahlad responded, he mentions the name Krishna. Matir na Krishne Parataksvatova Vatopi Padyeta Vigrahakvatanam. So, in that same verse, Vishnu is also mentioned, and Krishna is mentioned, but the form shown to Prahlad is the form of half man, half lion Shringadev. Why? The Shringadev says why in his response to Prahlad's prayers. I've shown this form to you to drive away fear. He could have eliminated Hiranyakashipu a zillion different ways. He revealed that particular form, which we hear the goddess of fortune had never seen before. And she's the goddess of fortune. But she has a different bhav than Prahlad. And Prahlad saw that form because the Lord explained why. To drive away fear. Not only for you, but for everyone. For time immemorial. So if you ever have a difficulty, some life-threatening situation, remember Lord Shringadev. It'll help you drive away fear. He came for that purpose. He revealed that form for that purpose. So although he's referring, Prahlad is referring to Matir na Krishna. Krishna is the vocative of Krishna. Those who are too much attached, Grahakritanam, too much attached to bodily identification and everything that goes with bodily identification, they can't remember Krishna. Matir na Krishna. He doesn't enter into the mind. Prahlad's perfection was the opposite. His perfection of the 9 processes of bhakti, he was always remembering. He knows what blocks remembrance, and he knows what causes remembrance. You remember that which you're attached to. It's described at the time of death. Your whole life passes in, like a flash in review, and your mind goes to that which you're most attached to, and you leave your body, and that's the state that you'll attain. Because mind goes to what you're attached to. Krishna says that in Bhagavad Gita. I had this experience one time, just sharing, anecdotal. Almost all of the devotees in the early days of the Hare Krishna movement lived in temples, and one of the primary activities that we did when living in temples was going on Harinam Sankirtan and distributing books. Everyone. Men, women, and children. Everyone. Whoever lives in the temple. We didn't really have so much of an idea of congregation. Now it's different. So one of the activities that I did for book distribution, I was introduced to distributing books in the airport, and it was in New York, and the airport was not legal. It still isn't. But we went anyways. Not in a dhoti, because that would stick out too much. So we went in civilian clothes, Western clothes, and distributed books. So there was a few of us that would go, and then there was a period of time when I was the only one, because others had other services to do, etc. So I just still went. So to get to the airport, there was the A train, and take it to the end of the line and take a Q10 bus to the air. It took a long time to get there. And then you stay until 8:30, and then take this long Q10 bus back to the end of the line and back to the temple. So when going back to the temple, we had to switch from the A train to the F train, because that was the temple was by the F train. So I got off the A train, crossing to the F train side, and there was a man on the subway platform dying. And you know what happens when somebody's dying and writhing, and there's a crowd of people gathered around. And somebody said to the dying man, what do you want? What would you like? He's going to die. Can I have a cigarette? Get the guy a cigarette, get the guy a cigarette. He couldn't even lift his hand, so they had to hold the cigarette to his mouth and lift the cigarette and puff the cigarette. There goes the smoke. He's going to die. Anything else you want? I want Sally. And he died. Because that's what he was attached to. His body was addicted to the nicotine, and he was attached to Sally, and he died. So I'll leave it up to you, where he went, where the soul went. Exactly what Krishna says. Whatever the mind is fixed on at the time of death, that state one will attain without fail. So if you want to practice, you want to be like Prahlad, you have to be attached to Krishna. Then you'll think of Krishna. Otherwise, it's not a matter of mechanics. It's a matter of devotion. Devotion is what you're attached to, the object of devotion. It's not just a behavior. It's a matter of heart, what you're attached to. Prahlad was attached. He was so attached that he was completely unafraid. He had no fear. It wasn't just one of those bluff things, macho guys saying, no fear. He had no fear. Because he was always with the Supreme Lord and protected by the Supreme Lord. He knew that. And he was. The power of the Supreme Lord was with him. And not a slogan. Power to the people. It's the almighty power of the Supreme Lord was with Prahlad. So powerful was Prahlad that he was more powerful than the most powerful person otherwise in the universe. And that was unnerving to Hiranyakashipu. When he understood that Prahlad was devoted to Vishnu, that was it. Kill him. He's not a nice man, Hiranyakashipu. Kill him because he's devoted to Vishnu. Not like get out of the house, but you kill him. But he couldn't kill him. He tried. This and that and this and that and the other thing, and nothing worked. So then he called Prahlad in front of him and said, you're not afraid of me. The demigods, they're afraid of me. I just lift my eyebrow and they tremble. You have no fear. And that's unnerving. You're supposed to be afraid of me. Go ahead, be afraid of me. I'm not afraid of you. Where are you getting your power from? From the same place you are. From Vishnu. Vishnu! He's the enemy. You show me where is this Vishnu. I'll destroy him. Where is Vishnu? He's everywhere. Oh, he's everywhere. Drama. Their Sunday feast program playing the drama of Hiranyakashipu. Where is Vishnu? He's everywhere. Is he in this pillar? Yes. He's in this pillar. And after destroying, first he had fun, like a cat playing with a mouse. I don't know if you've seen that, I've seen that. They get some kind of special delight. They corner the mouse is trembling. The ears of the cat are like this, ready to, like with the radar is going around, where's the mouse going to go? And as soon as pounce, and then release, the mouse is trembling. I don't know where they go to school for this, but they somehow, cats just know how to do this, tease the mouse. So Lord Nrsingadev was doing that with Hiranyakashipu, and then finally he finished him. And after Hiranyakashipu was finished, the hordes of associates of Hiranyakashipu came forward, and the Lord manifested thousands of arms and destroyed them all, roaring so loud. The demigods were relieved like anything, because he was a terrorist, mega terrorist, long before these other fellows got the idea. And he's gone. No more terrorism. And all his buddies that would have followed up, they're also gone. Exactly why the Lord appears, as he says, Vinashaya Chaduskritam. Finished. So the demigods wanted to pacify the Supreme Lord. There's a whole chapter of their beautiful prayers. It's a whole very nice chapter to study carefully, because it reveals them one by one according to their position, different, each according to their position, because they're recognizing the Supreme Lord. It's seeing the same form, but their devotion is different according to their heart. So what's their heart is being revealed in their prayer. Very, very nice. Didn't work. He's still roaring. So then they understood that the Lord appeared because of Prahlad. So Prahlad's the one that should pacify the Lord. So Lord Brahma particularly encouraged Prahlad, you go forward. So the teachings of Prahlad, in part, they're from what he spoke to his students, his friends, but now he's speaking to the Supreme Lord, and he's educating us on the way of pure devotional service. And I'm just going to read 2 or 3 verses, but because I'll do a fast forward from the previous days in St. Louis. It was a nice weekend, including Father's Day. It was very easy to connect Lord Nrsingadev and Father's Day. So he starts with humility, because bhakti starts with humility. There isn't bhakti without humility. So in his humility, he states, I don't have the qualification to be standing before you. I have disqualification. And he's exhibiting exactly what Sanatana Goswami says in Srimad Bhagavatam about what humility is. These are nice topics. In Srimad Bhagavatam part 1, it's where Narada is searching for the greatest recipient of the mercy of the Lord. That's his quest. It's a quest literature. Who is the greatest recipient of the mercy of the Lord? Without retelling the whole long section, he becomes inspired thinking so-and-so, he hears so-and-so, he's the greatest recipient, so he goes to that so-and-so, and just as was said, wow, he's really receiving such mercy, and he says, you are such a recipient of the mercy of the Lord for these and those and the reasons, and the person says, no, no, no. No, no, no. You don't understand. I am so disqualified. Here's my disqualification. This, that, the other thing. But if you want to know who is a great, great recipient of the mercy of the Lord, so-and-so, this devotee, he is great in this way, receives the mercy of the Lord that way, go find him. He's the greatest recipient, and there goes Narada, finding that devotee. And sure enough, just as he was said, he has some experience of how they're receiving the mercy of the Lord, and he bursts out, oh, you're such a recipient of the mercy of the Lord, and the person says the same thing, no, no, no. I'm disqualified. These are my disqualifications. But it really, so he keeps going. And Sanatana Goswami says that a symptom of humility is, although one is maybe very qualified to render service in a particular way, they feel themselves not qualified. What does that mean? They're calling upon the mercy of the Lord. So that's what humility is. You call upon the mercy of the Lord. The symptom is you feel you're not qualified. Not just say it cutely, cosmetically. Oh, I'm the most fallen. You feel it. If not most fallen, unqualified to do the service that's being asked of me. In this case, it's Prahlad being asked to offer prayers. He's saying, they're the ones that are qualified. They're my superiors in all ways. By birth, by education, by age, by their piety. I'm born in a demoniac family. I have demoniac blood coursing through my veins. I have all bad qualities. I'm disqualified to the max. He doesn't use that language, but then he glorifies devotional service and says it backwards and forwards. It says, even one may have all the endowments of piety, and he lists, 12 of them. Even if one has those things, that's not going to please the Supreme Lord. He's not interested in those things. And then he goes further and says one may have all the 12 qualifications of a Brahmana found within Scripture. But if that person is not a devotee, he's less qualified than not someone born in a family of dog eaters, but a dog eater who is a devotee. Because the commentary says when one is a devotee, those bad behaviors and bad symptoms of low birth, they're completely nullified by bhakti. Bhakti carries one way beyond those things. And therefore, that person is greater than one who is endowed with Brahminical qualification. He's superlative. Then he describes it by the mercy, essentially the mercy of Narada, I've come in contact with devotional service. So although I'm not qualified, and you don't need anything from me, he gives the example, a very nice metaphor. Just like by decorating your face in a mirror, the face becomes decorated. The mirror doesn't become decorated. You put your tilak on. You're not seeing your forehead. You're seeing the reflection of your forehead in the mirror. You're putting on the tilak and the reflection of the forehead. But your forehead is being decorated. So similarly, one who offers something to you, you don't need anything. The person that benefits is the one that makes an offering to you. So although I'm not qualified, I've gotten Narada's association as some devotion, and the good news is you're very merciful. If I just offer whatever it is that I have with devotion, you'll accept it. So here I go. I've been asked to offer these prayers Here I go, I'm going to offer some prayers, although I'm not qualified. I'm feeling I'm not qualified, not qualified. You're merciful. Narada is merciful. The bhakti process is powerful. It will carry me beyond my limitations. Here I go. Then again, starts glorifying the process of devotional service. Now, the assignment is to pacify the Supreme Lord so he'll stop roaring. So, he says to Lord Nrsingadev in his prayers, I'm not afraid, he lists his features. Your protruding ears, your gnashing teeth, your sharp claws, your garland of intestines, your roaring sound vibration, etc. Copper red eyes like on fire. I'm not afraid of those features, because I know that they're meant for Hiranyakashipu. You're very kind to your devotee, I know that. So those things are not for me, they're for him. And he's gone. You've come into this world to protect your devotees, the demigods and me, and that person is gone. So you don't need those features anymore. Can you please remove them? And the Lord stopped roaring. So, just continuing, just a few further prayers. Isn't it nice to hear the words of a pure devotee, feel the heart of the pure devotee, speaking his heart to the Supreme Lord, his worshipful Master? O most powerful, insurmountable Lord, who are kind to the fallen souls. Hint, that means like me. I've been put into the association of demons as a result of my activities, and therefore I am very much afraid of my condition of life within this material world. I'm not afraid of these features, because they're for Hiranyakashipu. What I'm afraid of is, given my contamination, being in this material world, I'm afraid of being in the material world. Now, being afraid is not like he's trembling, that kind of being afraid. Rather, it's a very dangerous place. Padam, padam, idvi padam. So he's recognizing his danger. And in that sense, I want to be very careful. Proceed with caution. When you go through, and like Prabhupada gives this example of a doctor, medical doctor, going into a epidemic situation. He takes an inoculation. He's not that afraid, so I won't go into the epidemic situation. He's a doctor, but he takes the proper precaution. He doesn't become infected by that epidemic disease. Similarly, Prahlad is teaching us, same thing that Prabhupada taught us. In his way, Prabhupada taught us, Prahlad is teaching in his way. I'm fearful, very much afraid of my condition of life within this material world. When will that moment come when you will call me to the shelter of your lotus feet, which are the ultimate goal for liberation from conditional life? I remember a morning walk conversation in Mayapur. You get to see videos of these things, but to be on a morning walk with Prabhupada was better than a video. So one morning, a particular mood he was in was admonishing his Western disciples. He said, you flirt with Maya. You take risks beyond what is sensible to take risk. You go out on a branch to see how far you can go before the limb starts to crack. And then you come rushing back for the trunk of the tree. You don't do this. How far out of the edge can you go before you fall off? Don't do that. Stay, in the middle. Stay close. Don't do this. Taking risks in a dangerous place. Rather recognize that it's a dangerous place. Here's another Prabhupada story connects with this. This was in New York, the previous Henry Street Temple in Brooklyn. Prabhupada's schedule was such that he would have lunch midday. Before he would have lunch, he would take bath, sit and chant Gayatri, and then he was expecting his lunch would be brought hot. It was a whole experience. And then after he would have lunch, he would take a very regulated 20-minute nap. And then after nap, he would take bath, and then he would, he would receive guests, or if there were no guests, he would then hold darshan. And so one afternoon there was no guests, so it was darshan time. So we're sitting in the room with Prabhupada, and he was having fun. He said, "What is the difference between you and me?" And the devotees were glorifying Prabhupada, you're this, and Prabhupada, you're that, and very joyful exchange. And then it got to be time for the evening arti in class. So Prabhupada ended the discussion this way, saying, the difference between you and me is you may fall down, but I will never fall down. That is the difference. Everyone went, Jai Prabhupada. And then they went for darshan of the deity, and Jai Radha Madhava gave class and came back to his quarters. So the devotee that was Prabhupada's secretary at the time said, he asked Prabhupada a question. When you were standing before the deities, you had your hands folded and you were offering some prayers. May I ask, what were those prayers? And Prabhupada said, I was praying to Krishna that he'll always keep me engaged in his service and protect me from Maya. And the devotee said, but Prabhupada, you told us earlier that the difference between you and us is we may fall down, but you'll never fall down. And Prabhupada said, now you know why. Because I'm always praying to please keep me always engaged in your service and protect me from Maya. Meaning we don't. But Prahlad is. And one who's in pure devotion isn't casual. We recognize the place in which we are situated is a dangerous place. Not only, we could die getting in our car, going back home, that kind of physical danger, but just the whole place is a dangerous place. Without elaborating, it's a dangerous place. While we're alive and in this human form, we have a mission. Now, it's important to ask. Many people don't ask. They just live their life. But if you ask the question, what's the mission? You'll get 100 more questions after that question. If you don't ask the question, then you won't have those questions. But life is short. We're here for however many breaths, and then it's over. What is it that we're supposed to be accomplishing? It's one of the things that I try to get college students to do, different depending on the circumstance, but to ask the question, like, what's the purpose of life? There's a very beautiful painting I like very much. There's a person with his back to you, and over here is a rock that looks like a child inside a womb, and over here is a skeleton that says somebody that's dying, and inside there's this opening. And they're looking at life between birth and death. That's, what goes in that space. What are we supposed to be doing? And if you don't ask the question, you wasted the valuable human form of life. And if you do ask the question, you get lots more questions. You may get some answers, but you'll never get an answer even if it bonks you on the head if you don't ask the question. Seek and ye shall find, the Bible says. Don't seek and you won't find. So all of us, somebody intervened in our life and gave us the holy name and gave us Bhaktivedanta purports of one form or another, some book or magazine or Bhagavad Gita or something. And our life changed because somebody cared enough to go out of their way and give that. And we had enough sense to say yes instead of no. And we have to keep saying yes, or at least asking, what's in this literature that's meant, the purpose of what's in the literature is meant to benefit me, to help me get an answer to the question I haven't sufficiently asked. What's the mission of human life? Anyway, Prahlad understands it's very dangerous, and I want to be with you. He's not asking for, take me out of this material world. He's asking to place me, like Mahaprabhu says, place me as an atom at your lotus feet, a dust particle at your lotus feet. Please keep me engaged in your service. That's what I want. Because you're engaged in service, that your body may discombobulate at some point in time, break apart and whatever it is. But the soul stay engaged in Krishna's service. That's real protection. He wants protection from this dangerous place. That protection is devotional service. He knows it. He's at the Lord's feet. He's asking to be kept there by mercy. My dear Lord, O Supreme, because of a bodily conception of life, embodied souls, neglected and not cared for by you, cannot do anything for their betterment. Whatever remedies they accept, although perhaps temporarily beneficial, are certainly impermanent. For example, a father and mother cannot protect a child. A physician and medicine cannot relieve a suffering patient. And a boat on the ocean cannot protect a drowning man. He wants permanent shelter, permanent solution. He wants the real deal. He doesn't want something that's just going to distract him from the mission. The purpose of life, being in the Lord's shelter and in that place of safety, even without whatever else is going on that's very dangerous. He has that already. He's already demonstrated that he has that. That he's feeling not qualified for that and appealing in that mood of humility for the Lord's shelter. It's just natural that Prabhupada gives this example. The Lord will give that shelter. Prabhupada gives the example of a mother and father that have multiple children. So, qualified mother and father, they naturally have affection for their children. For all their children. But amongst all the children, if one child is particularly affectionate, particularly attached, then naturally the affection of the parents go to that child. It's not partiality, it's just natural reciprocation of affection. So the devotee has that kind of sense of wishing for the Lord, the surrender, wishing for the Lord's protection and maintenance and well-being, everything. He's for the devotee, the Lord is everything. Mamata is the Sanskrit phrase. Krishna, I am yours. So what does Krishna do? My devotee, I am yours. Because it's relationship is two ways, not only one way. Krishna feels that. Here's Lord Nrsimhadev driving away fear. Prahlad is saying, I'm afraid of my material existence. And his prayer is, please take away any trace of material desire from my heart. That's what he asks for. He doesn't have any material desire. He's asking for that. That's the position of a qualified person. That sense of humility and depending upon descending mercy, connected to the personality of Godhead. Not trembling and fearful and low self-esteem kind of thing. It's feeling the connection with the Supreme Lord and the necessity of being in His care. One more verse. He speaks about creation and so forth, and you're in detail. You're the source of this and that and the other thing. And because you're the source of this complicated network of material creation, who can get position of freedom other than one who's attached to your lotus feet? So it's very logical, as well as he's fixed anyways. I mean, his intelligence is fixed because his heart is fixed. He's given the intelligence because his heart is fixed. Yeah. My dear Lord, O Supreme Great, you have created this material world of 16 constituents, but you are transcendental to their material qualities. In other words, these material qualities are under your full control, and you are never conquered by them. Therefore, the time element is your representation. My Lord, O Supreme, no one can conquer you. As for me, however, I am being crushed by the wheel of time, and therefore I surrendered fully unto you. Now kindly take me under the protection of your lotus feet. Going slowly, because we're kind of going quickly here, but you go slowly, and reason after reason or impetus after impetus are being cited why he wants only one position. Being in the service of the Supreme Lord in a humble mood at his lotus feet, he doesn't want anything else. He has reason to not want other things. So it serves as an impetus, inclusive and exclusive, if you know what I mean. There's reason to not be anywhere else, there's reason to be here. Exclusive and inclusive. There's nothing else. That's the quality of a pure devotee. Mamata, I am yours. So that means there's no false ego. There's no position to be protected, because he has no position to be protected. He's not, turf conscious, defending his little territory. He doesn't have any territory. We get involved in dissension with others because we're turf conscious. We have our false ego and we have our little domain. We, try to expand it, at least protect it. Somebody treads into our space and, you let them know you're not welcome. Depending upon one's nature, we'll let people know. But Prahlad doesn't have that. And as a result, he has everything. The kingdom of God. And whatever it is that he needs, even without asking for it. It's another world. The spiritual world is another world, and one can live in that other world while in this world by consciousness. To end with this. Back to Godhead, go back home, back to Godhead, may sound like, a geographic move from place X to place Y or Z. But it's a conscious change. And one can one can enter into the kingdom of God while in the same body. You have to wait till after this life you go to the good place. That's the notion of, go to heaven, because that's a good place. But this is not, it's a place of consciousness. One can enter immediately, without giving up your body, just by giving up the material contamination, the material conceptions. It's an important thing to understand. Let's say the same thing in two different ways. Here's one of those two different ways. I heard Prabhupada say twice in Brooklyn and once in Manhattan, this temple is not in Brooklyn, it is Vaikuntha. He said it again, he said it again. And I heard he said the same thing in Los Angeles. This temple is not in Los Angeles, it is in Vaikuntha. What was he saying? Consciousness, here's Krishna. Krishna is presiding, and the devotees of Krishna are surrounded around Krishna and doing service to Krishna. That's Vaikuntha. By consciousness. In the purposes of ISKCON, I don't know if you all have done it here. I've been doing it a whole bunch because this is ISKCON 50. And we've been celebrating, the establishment of ISKCON. There's 7 purposes, and one of those 7 purposes is establishing places of pastime of Krishna. Have you ever wondered how you're supposed to do that? When Krishna appears, that he does pastime, that's places of so Krishna has to appear. Then there's places of pastimes of Krishna. But establishing temples is same, because Krishna is there. And Krishna performs pastimes with his devotees. Depending upon your consciousness, you'll realize it or not realize it, but Krishna is engaging us with his internal potency through the medium of devotional service, and there's pastimes with his devotees. Largely it's purification pastimes. But then cooking for Krishna and etc. Singing the praises of Krishna, etc. So transcendence can be established now. We can go back to Godhead now. You have to wait till after this life and then you go back to Godhead. You can go back to Godhead now. Here's another, second Prabhupada story. Prabhupada was visiting Los Angeles. He had come from India, etc. So he had arrived at the airport. He was interviewed at the airport by a reporter, because then you didn't have TSA, you could do things like that. And then came to the temple. Prabhupada stayed seated in his quarters. Maybe some of you have been in his quarters in Los Angeles, but if you can ask and they'll give you entrance into his quarters. It's small, but he spent a lot of time working on the translations of the Bhaktivedanta purports at that location. So it's a very special, sacred place. So he's in his quarters, and the devotees are crowded in his room, and Prabhupada is saying, I know that as my disciples, you very much enjoy hearing news of Prabhupada. Oh, Prabhupada is now in India, but soon he'll be coming, and he'll go to Japan. And then he did these things in Japan, and then he went to Australia and New Zealand, and he spoke at these places and did these things. And then soon Prabhupada will go to Hawaii, and then he was in Hawaii and he did these things, and so then he came to Los Angeles. So you're all engaged in hearing these things about me, but you should understand, I am always with Krishna. Because his consciousness is always with Krishna. He's always with Krishna. While externally doing, he's always with Krishna. He was back to Godhead before he went back to Godhead. Because he was already back to Godhead. And we can also, that's the invitation. And that's what Prahlad is indicating here. That the trepidation or caution, the care that with which we conduct our affairs in this material world, theistically, but also recognizing there's danger, and the danger specifically is intruding into our the material aspects of contaminated consciousness instead of devotional consciousness. We should be wary of that. and seek protection of the Supreme Lord, to always be in that mood of his service. And then that's Vaikuntha. This temple is not in Brooklyn, it is Vaikuntha. And his eyes got very big. Jai Prabhupada. That was the gift that he wanted to give. We made some steps in the direction of receiving the gift, and a life of devotion is continued to cultivate, making those steps to receive that gift. That means letting that consciousness enter our heart. And one of the primary means for letting that consciousness enter the heart is, just as Mahaprabhu demonstrated, hearing this message of Srimad Bhagavatam on a regular basis, on a daily basis. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, Nashta Prayeshu Abhajeshu, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, Bhagavati Uttama Shloke, Bhaktir Bhavati, Naishtaki, Bhaktir Bhavati, like voila. Bhakti manifests. How? Nashta Prayeshu Abhajeshu, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Very sublime process. So just as we've been doing, we just continue doing, faithfully, trying to receive the message, let the message enter into the heart, cleanse the heart, give us direction in our aspiring life of devotion, more on the devotion side, less on the material shelter side. We do practical things, but more on the devotion side and less on the material shelter side. And progressively cultivate bhakti. And we'll come closer to Krishna. Each day of our life, one step closer to Krishna. And that destroys fear. You come closer to Krishna, you're protected. Things will be taken from you. The body will be taken from you, health will be taken from you, youth will be taken, everything will be taken from you. That's for certain. Still fearlessness when there's shelter. A wise person will go that direction. And the messages help nourish that spirit of devotion. And Lord Chaitanya said, say it again, say it again. Okay. Any discussion? Yes? Yeah.
Thank you, Maharaj, for beautiful class. Very nice. Maharaj, you mentioned initially about how Prahlad Maharaj says that he's afraid of the condition of life. I'm just trying to understand the mood of the prayers, because previously, or I think during the same prayers, Prahlad Maharaj also says that I'm not afraid, because
he's not
wherever
afraid
I may
and he's
be,
afraid.
I am totally...
The distinction is he was cautious. He's not afraid of the features of Lord Nrsingadev, but he's afraid of the circumstance. I gave the example previously, I'll give it again. You're going to get in your car and go somewhere after this. Now, you're not trembling at the steering wheel. Otherwise you wouldn't get in. You know, like the people that make the announcements on the airplanes, especially Southwest, they like to make jokes. So they say, in the case of emergency, then this oxygen mask will fall down. Of course, we never would have gotten a plane if we thought it might happen. But in case it does happen, it's procedure, we have to tell you about it. But it could happen. We're not fearful, we're taking precautions. So you can get in your car. There's accidents on the highways. There's cars wreck and bodies wreck and people die on the highways. So we take precaution. We're not afraid to get in the car, but we take precaution. Drive carefully. Like that. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. In some of the videos I recently watched, in the places where you talked about humility and ardent hearing. So could you please bless us with saying something about ardent hearing and how we benefit from that, or how is it?
Well, the word ardent is a word that Prabhupada would use for sake of emphasis. And ardent, the meaning of it is strong desire. So the strong desire is, I want to know. And whatever it is that you'd like to know, you not. There's a curiosity kind of I'd like to know, and there's a deeper kind of I'd like to know. Like, for example, the curiosity kind is when people ask you, you're a member of the Krishna organization. I get this all the time when I travel. Are you a monk? And they don't even say, are you a monk? They say, are you a Buddhist monk? And I say, no, I'm not a Buddhist monk. I'm a Krishna monk. Oh, Krishna monk. What's that? It's curiosity. They don't really want to know. They just like curiosity. And you say this and that, and they go, oh, that's nice, and then they're on to the next thing. They really don't. It's curiosity. The ardent is, I really want to know. I mean, like, I want it to go inside. I want it to change my inside. I want my heart to be moved by that. Not just information, but transformation. So I want my heart to change. I want to be oriented by this process of hearing in a way that will take me to Krishna. That's ardent hearing. And on my own effort, it's not going to be possible. So that's the humility part. I require mercy. I want to know, but I'm not going to, my own effort isn't going to accomplish that. The effort is the inquisitive spirit, and the receiving end of mercy is equally required. So that circles back around to this question of asking the question, what's the purpose of life? What's the mission? In some cases, people take that in a limited way. Like, a Christian phrase is someone's calling. So, my calling is to be a doctor, or to be a teacher, or to be a social worker, or something. It's my nature. But, that's not really what the mission of life is, or the purpose of life is. You have an occupation, and you do something to help other people. The deeper mission, the deeper sense of life's mission, is the soul gets permanently connected to Krishna. And the medium for expressing that may be this or that, whatever one's calling is. But the deeper mission is that's where ardent hearing comes from. I want to connect with that. It can start just even from the Adau Shraddha message, which is, I know that there's a higher reality. I don't know exactly what it is, but I know that there's a higher reality beyond all of this. Take the facade down and what's behind the facade. There's another reality going on. There's another purpose of life, another mission of life, another thing meant to be accomplished beyond philanthropy and altruism, doing good to others. I know that there's another reality. And I want to know that other reality. I want it to be inside, and I can live it and give it. That ardent hearing. Yes?
Maharaj, is there a difference between faith and belief?
I'll invite you to listen to a recording of Radha Krishna Prabhu, disciple of Tamal Krishna Maharaj, who spoke at the Memorial Day weekend retreat last year, and he did a book review of Tamal Krishna Maharaj's book on this topic. And there's two parts to it. Tamal Krishna Maharaj wrote the book not for devotees, because Radhakrishna was Tamal Krishna as a servant when he was writing the book, going to SMU, Southern Methodist University, because that's where he wrote the texts for the book. It's for academic people, because in theology, this question you just asked is a question that's always asked in theology: faith and reason. And how much of what we do in theology is based on faith, and how much of it is based on reason. So it's from an academic perspective. But it also, because he discussed with Tamal Krishna, he understood from a devotee perspective what it means. That's like, exhaustively, thoroughly, but it's a whole book, so it's subtle. But faith is, according to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, very simple. Conviction, Shraddha Shabde Vishwas Kahe Sudrita Nishchaya, verse in Bengali. Faith is conviction that by achieving one thing, all other desirable things will be accomplished. And for a devotee, it's faith in Krishna Bhakti. Krishna Bhakti, Sarva Karma Krita Haya, all other things are fulfilled. Sarva Karma Krita. It is said, all other things will be achieved by this one thing. Achieve Krishna Bhakti. Faith is conviction, and by achieving one thing, all other desirable things will be accomplished. So faith, I just put my focus on that one thing. The other things may be of interest to me, but I must achieve this one thing, then the other things will come. And belief, Prabhupada used this distinction. Belief is, it can change. Today I believe in this, tomorrow I believe in that. But faith doesn't change like that. It's beyond circumstance and time. It's at a deeper level, from the heart level or soul level or conviction. Now, one can have faith and not be a devotee. We can have faith that get money and I'll get happiness. A lot of people are driven by that kind of faith. Or get the gold medal. I'll put everything else to the side. My one thing is I'll find happiness if I become a gold medalist in my particular field or sport or whatever. Everything comes secondary, that's primary. That's a faith in this will bring the other things that I want. Happiness. We all want happiness.
So the belief is from the mind.
Yes.
And the other faith is from the heart.
Yeah. And confirmed by and guided by Scripture. Yes, you're very enthusiastic.
Sir, Maharaj, actually, in one of the prayers, Prahlad Maharaj says, Soyam na kada visude tava vritti seva. So he says, how can I leave your service of your devotee Narad Muni and come to you? Right. So in Krishna consciousness, what is important? Like remembering Guru or remembering Krishna?
They're not different.
Like when we are chanting,
I understand your question. You understand my answer?
When we are chanting,
don't separate them. Here's Prabhupada. One disciple named Saradiya asked a similar question. Her question was, Prabhupada, you've taught us not to jump over the spiritual master. Does that mean that we shouldn't pray to Krishna, we can only pray to the spiritual master? Is that jumping over? We pray to Krishna? And Prabhupada laughed. He said, how can you separate? If you think of the spiritual master, can you think of the spiritual master separate from Krishna? Can you think of Krishna separate from the spiritual master? So it's a false dilemma.
Means when we are chanting, like we are chanting Hare Krishna, we are hearing Krishna's name.
Yes, and where did you get that Krishna's name from?
Means simultaneously should we remember Guru and Krishna?
I've answered your question. Don't separate them. If you're properly thinking of Krishna, you'll think while chanting the holy name or in any other form, you'll think of the mercy that you have received in order to have that connection with Krishna. Otherwise, you wouldn't have that connection with Krishna. And then vice versa. If you're thinking of Guru, how can you think of Guru other than what the Guru wants to give you, Krishna? It's an artificial distinction. So when you're chanting Hare Krishna, you're not, I'm chanting Hare Krishna, I'm thinking of my Guru. You're chanting Hare Krishna, they're simultaneous, if you're chanting properly. There's mercy coming. Whereas the conduit for Krishna's mercy is through the representatives of Krishna. They're not separate. You don't, it's an artificial dilemma, a false dilemma. Yes?
Maharaj, thank you. We're so humbled by your presence. Thank you for your wisdom. Maharaj, when I look at the Bhagavad Gita and you look at the picture on the front cover and you see the physical battle between Arjuna and Guru, etc. And we've had a great deal of wisdom here from Guruji's to say the battle in Kali is really at the mind. And is it safe to say that nectar is the way to win the battle?
The nectar is the way to win the battle?
The Bhagavad Gita, the information. That's the way to win the battle in this time, in this age.
Well, if I've understood your question correctly, and I'm not sure I have, but if I've understood your question correctly, when you say this, it's not to the exclusion of that. If you say that, it's not to the exclusion of the other. If you say the other, it's not to the exclusion of this. Your attention may focus on the wisdom of Bhagavad Gita. But with the wisdom of Bhagavad Gita comes all kinds of things. Mercy, intelligence, strength, humility, etc. So one may say, is it this or is it this? My response is a qualified yes. As long as, by saying yes, it doesn't mean to the exclusion of these other things because it's part of the package. Okay?
Thank you, Maharaj.
I think you can tell from my answer that I've been a sannyasi for a while. Because somebody that gets a yes over here then comes over there, somebody says, well, I heard that it says it's that, but you said it's this, so that's why I gave the answer that I gave. Okay. Anything else? Yes.
Maharaj, like you said, nursing Dev form was shown to Prahlad Maharaj to relieve his fear.
I said what Lord Nrsimhadev said.
Okay,
That's what he said to Prahlad.
Okay, so like what type of fear was it? Like he was trying to relieve, like that material fear?
Well, it wasn't just the fear of Prahlad. It was the fear of people for future generations also. That is to say, you and I, when we're confronted with a dangerous situation, we're advised, remember Lord Nrsimhadev.
Okay.
And his fierce protection of his devotee. And he does. In the modern context, you may or may not, in your mind, think of that form, but even just the name. I can give some anecdotes that will prove it. Okay. There's as with each of the names of the Lord, there's potencies connected with those names. That's why, as we find in first chapter Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna addresses Krishna by different names, and that name is invoking a specific aspect of the Lord. Rishikesh or Dhoksaja or Madhava or something. There's potencies in each of those names, invoked by the name. The Lord is everything, and a particular name evokes a particular aspect of Him. There's potency accordingly. So this form of Lord Nrsingadev has, his name alone has that potency. I'll tell one story. We were a group of devotees were attending a concert in Central Park. They don't do that anymore because it wrecks the lawns, but they used to do it. So we had the big concert, zillions of people, lots of devotees having Harinam and distributing literature. So we're going to the location. One girl, unfortunately, was straggling behind. So it's really good when there's groups of devotees traveling together. There's some man at the backside so he can help give protection to the people that straggle behind. So one girl was straggling behind. And one thug saw her straggling behind and grabbed her and started pulling her away to do whatever he was going to plan to do with her. And she just, at the top of her lungs, screamed Sringadev's name. And screamed his name and screamed his name. And he said to her, "If you're going to be like that, forget it." And just left her alone. There's some other ones. It wasn't rehearsed. It just came out of her heart. She knew, she had the feeling that Lord Nrsingadev will protect me in a situation where if I don't get protection, awful. So just from her heart, she called out very loudly. A very interesting way that he protected her. Okay, I think we're done. Thank you very much, Prabhupada.
Jai. His Holiness Romapada Swami Maharaja.